VE had watched Earth for 300 years. They floated in their invisible ships far above the blue planet, studying the strange creatures that lived there. Every other world they had found was simple to understand. When trouble came, most species would give up or run away. But humans were different. Very different. Commander Valterra sat in her command chair looking at the screens that showed Earth below. Her forearms moved quickly across the controls as she wrote her daily report. She had been watching humans for 50 years now, and they still surprised her. When humans faced problems that should have destroyed them, they did something no other species did. They got angry. They got creative. They fought back. "Look at this," she said to her second officer, pointing at the screen. 300 years ago, these humans could barely fly. Now they have metal birds that cross their skies. They have built machines that let them talk to each other across their entire world. They even send small ships to their moon. Her second officer clicked his mandibles nervously. "Commander, perhaps we should report this to the High Council. These humans ... they learn too fast." Valterra nodded slowly. She had been thinking the same thing. Most species took thousands of years to develop basic space travel. Humans had done it in less than a century. Most species created simple tools and stopped there. Humans never stopped making new things. They made tools to make better tools. They made machines to help them think faster. They made weapons that could destroy their own world. Down on Earth, Dr. Jiho Kim wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked late into the night. The Seoul Observatory was quiet except for the soft humming of computers. He had been studying strange signals from deep space for months now. The patterns were too perfect to be natural. Something intelligent was out there, watching them. "Jiho, you need to see this," his colleague Dr. Mina Park called from across the room. She was staring at her computer screen, her face pale. "The signal is getting stronger, much stronger." Jiho walked over to look at her data. The numbers made his stomach drop. Whatever was sending these signals was getting closer to Earth. The energy readings were massive, bigger than anything humans had ever seen. This was technology far beyond what Earth could build. "We need to tell someone," Mina whispered. "The government? The military? Someone?" "Tell them what?" Jiho asked. "That we think aliens are watching us? They'll think we're crazy?" But deep down, Jiho knew they were not crazy. The signals were real. The patterns were too complex to be natural. Something was out there, and it was paying attention to Earth, high above them. Commander Valterra watched the two humans work. She had been observing these particular humans for months. They were smart, perhaps too smart. They were starting to notice the collective's presence. This was not supposed to happen. The collective was very good at staying hidden. "Commander, her communications officer said, "We're getting reports from observation posts around the galaxy. Several species we've been watching have developed space travel. The Zephyrians have built their first starship. The aquatic collective on Kepler 4b, has begun exploring their outer system." Valterra studied the reports. This was normal. Most species eventually reached the stars. But they did it slowly, carefully, after thousands of years of preparation. They followed predictable patterns. They could be controlled, guided, or if necessary, stopped. Humans were different. They didn't follow patterns. They had gone from simple wooden boats to metal ships that could fly through space in just a few hundred years. They had split the atom before they had figured out how to cure simple diseases. They had built computers that could think before they had learned how to stop fighting each other. "There's something else, Commander," the communications officer continued. "The humans have been sending signals into space. They're trying to contact other species. They want to find other intelligent life." This was exactly what the collective had been afraid of. Most species stayed on their homeworlds for thousands of years before they tried to contact others. Developed slowly, peacefully. They could be approached carefully, studied, and either welcomed into the galactic community or quietly discouraged from advancing further. But humans were broadcasting their presence to the entire galaxy. They were telling everyone where they were and what they could do. They were practically inviting contact. Valterra made a decision that would change everything. She opened a communication channel to the High Council of the Collective. The response came quickly. Commander Valterra, report. High Council. I must recommend immediate action regarding the human species on Earth. They are advancing too quickly. They are actively seeking contact with other species. If we do not act soon, they will become uncontrollable. There was a long pause. Then the voice of the High Council spoke again. We have been monitoring your reports, Commander. We agree. The humans show all the signs of a species that will become dangerous if left unchecked. They are innovative, aggressive, and they refuse to accept limitations. Prepare for Phase 1 of the cleansing protocol. Commander Valterra felt a chill run through her body. She had recommended many species for the cleansing protocol over the years. It was necessary to protect the galaxy from species that might become too dangerous. But something about the humans made her uncomfortable. Understood. High Council. Beginning preparations now. Below on Earth, Dr. Ji-Ho Kim and Dr. Mina Park continued their work. Unaware that their fate had just been decided by beings they had never seen, the signals from space grew stronger every day, and soon, very soon, humanity would learn they were not alone in the universe. The question was whether they would survive the meeting. It started with silence. Every satellite TV channel went black. At exactly 3:47 p.m., Greenwich Mean Time, cell phones stopped working. The internet died. GPS systems failed. Just minutes. Humanity's connected world became isolated islands of confusion and fear. Then came the shadows. The first ship appeared. Over New York City like a mountain made of dark metal. It was so large that it blocked out the sun, turning midday into twilight. The ship made no sound as it hung in the air, defying everything humans knew about how things should work. More ships appeared over London, Tokyo, Moscow, and every major city on Earth. People stopped their cars and got out to stare up at the sky. Children cried. Adults stood with their mouths open, unable to believe what they were seeing. The ships were impossibly huge, stretching for miles across the sky. It looked like nothing humans had ever built or imagined. Dr. Ji-Ho Kim was still in his laboratory when the lights went out. He and Dr. Mina Park had been working on their deep space research when all their equipment suddenly stopped working. They ran outside and saw the massive ship hanging over Seoul, its dark hull reflecting the city lights below. This is it, Mina whispered, grabbing Ji-Ho's arm. This is what we've been detecting. They're here, round the world. Similar scenes played out. Dr. Sunho was in his physics lab in Busan when the power failed. Dr. Haijin was teaching her quantum mechanics class in Daejin when every electronic device in the building went dead. Dr. Young Su was conducting experiments in his underground facility. When emergency lights began flashing red, the message came at exactly 6 p.m. Every radio that still worked. Every speaker system, every device that could make sound, suddenly came alive with the same voice speaking in perfect Korean, English, Chinese, and every other language on Earth. People of Earth, we are the Kethver Collective. We have observed your species for 3 centuries. You have been judged a threat to galactic stability. You have 72 hours to prepare. For relocation to designated worlds where you will be cared for and studied, resistance will result in complete extermination. This is not negotiable. The Kethver Collective President Min Jae stood in the emergency bunker beneath Seoul, her face pale but determined. Around her, military officials and scientists huddled around tables covered with maps and data. The same scene was happening in every capital city on Earth. They want us to surrender, she said, her voice shaking slightly. They want to take us from our home and scatter us across the galaxy like animals in a zoo. General Park Dong raised his hand. Madame President, our military is useless against them. They shut down our satellites like turning off a light switch. Their ships are larger than our aircraft carriers. We have no weapons that could even scratch them. Then we need different weapons, said a quiet voice from the back of the room. Everyone turned to look at Dr. Tae Min, a thin man with thick glasses, who had been part of a secret government project for the past 5 years. He stepped forward nervously. Project Thunder, he said. We've been working on it since we first detected their signals. We knew this day might come. President Min Jae leaned forward. What is Project Thunder? Dr. Tae Min looked around the room, then took a deep breath. We've been studying ways to turn Earth's own magnetic field into a weapon, not just any weapon, but one that could channel the planet's energy into a focused burst of destruction. The theory is sound, but we've never tested it on this scale. How much time do you need? The president asked. 72 hours, Dr. Taemin replied. We need every nuclear reactor, every particle accelerator, and every quantum computer on Earth working together. We need to turn the entire planet into one massive weapon. While world leaders met in emergency sessions, trying to buy time by pretending to negotiate, the real work began in secret. Dr. Jiho Kim received an encrypted message on his emergency radio, telling him to report to a hidden facility beneath the Korean mountains. Dr. Mina Park got the same message, as did thousands of scientists around the world. The facility was like nothing Jiho had ever seen. Tunnels stretched for miles underground, filled with the most advanced technology on Earth. Scientists from every country worked side by side, their usual rivalries forgotten in the face of extinction. Welcome to Project Thunder, Dr. Taemin explained to the gathered scientists. For 5 years, we've been preparing for this moment. We've built a network of synchronized devices that can turn Earth's magnetic field into a directed energy weapon. But we need your help to make it work. Dr. Haijin, the quantum mechanics professor, raised her hand. This is insane. You're talking about using the entire planet as a weapon. What if something goes wrong? Then we die, Dr. Young-soo said simply. But we die fighting, not as prisoners in some alien zoo. The work began immediately. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, connecting facilities across the globe through hardened communication lines that the aliens couldn't shut down. Nuclear plants were modified to channel their energy into the network. Particle accelerators were reprogrammed to work in perfect synchronization. Quantum computers calculated probabilities that shouldn't exist. Above ground, the alien ships waited patiently. They had given humanity 72 hours to surrender, confident that no primitive species could threaten their advanced technology. They had conquered 1,000 worlds. Earth would be no different, but they had never encountered a species that could turn their own planet into a weapon. They had never faced humans who refused to accept defeat, even when facing impossible odds. The countdown had begun. 72 hours to save humanity or die trying. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought they understood humans because they had watched them fight wars for 300 years. They saw the battles, the destruction, the chaos, and believed it showed weakness. They were wrong. Every human war had been a school. Every conflict had taught humans how to build better weapons, create stronger defenses, and solve impossible problems. When humans faced death, they didn't give up. They got smarter. They got angrier. They got creative. Deep underground in a facility that didn't exist on any map, Dr. Jiho Kim stared at equations that covered an entire wall. The numbers were so complex that only the most advanced computers could process them. But the idea behind them was simple. Turn Earth itself into a weapon. The magnetic field surrounds our entire planet, he explained to the team of scientists gathered around him. It protects us from solar radiation, from cosmic rays, from everything space throws at us. But what if we could control it? What if we could focus all that energy into one massive burst? Dr. Mina Park nodded, her fingers dancing across holographic displays. The theory works. We've run the calculations 1,000 times, but the execution, ... double quotes. She paused, looking worried. We're talking about coordinating every major power source on Earth. Nuclear reactors, particle accelerators, quantum computers, everything. One mistake, and we could destroy ourselves. Around the world, similar conversations were happening in dozens of hidden facilities. In Switzerland, scientists worked frantically to modify the Large Hadron Collider, the massive machine that smashed particles together at incredible speeds. In Russia, teams of engineers worked to resurrect old nuclear projects that had been abandoned decades ago. In China, quantum computing arrays calculated probabilities that shouldn't exist. Dr. Hannah Lee was only 25 years old, fresh out of graduate school with a degree in theoretical physics. She had never expected to be part of humanity's last hope. Now she sat in a room full of the world's greatest scientists, trying to solve problems that seemed impossible. "I don't understand," she said, raising her hand nervously. "How do we know this will work? We've never tested anything like this before. What if the planet can't handle the energy discharge? What if we tear apart the magnetic field and leave Earth defenseless?" Dr. Su Jin looked up from his calculations. He was 70 years old, with gray hair and deep lines around his eyes. He'd worked on secret military projects for most of his life, but nothing like this. "Young lady," he said quietly, "let me tell you something about being human. We've never known if something would work. When we first tried to fly, we didn't know if we would crash. When we first went to space, we didn't know if we would make it back. When we first split the atom, we didn't know if we would destroy the world." He stood up slowly, his joints creaking. "But we tried anyway, because that's what humans do. We take impossible risks for impossible rewards. And sometimes, just sometimes, we succeed." The work continued around the clock. Teams of scientists worked in shifts, never stopping, never resting. They had less than 48 hours left, and the task seemed impossible. They needed to connect every major power source on Earth into one synchronized network. They needed to calculate the exact frequency and timing required to focus the planet's magnetic field. They needed to do it all without the aliens detecting what they were doing. Dr. Minesio was in charge of the communication network. Her job was to make sure all the facilities around the world could talk to each other without the aliens noticing. She had created a system that used underground cables, radio waves that bounced off the ocean floor, and even signals sent through the Earth's crust itself. "The network is holding," she reported to the main control room. "We have connection to every major power source on the planet." Dr. Kyung Ho was working on the timing system. Everything had to happen at exactly the same moment, down to the nanosecond. One facility firing early or late could destroy the entire plan. "The synchronization is the hardest part," he explained to his team. "We're asking computers in different countries, running on different power grids, to work together more precisely than anything has ever worked before. It's like trying to get a million watches to tick at exactly the same moment." Above ground, the alien ships continued to wait. Commander Veltara watched the humans scurry around like insects, building what looked like primitive weapons. She had seen this before in other worlds. Species would always try to fight back, using whatever technology they had. "It never worked," Commander, her science officer, reported. "The humans are connecting their power systems. They appear to be building some kind of energy weapon." Veltara laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Energy weapons? We face species with weapons that could crack planets in half? Hey, these humans are using nuclear reactors and particle accelerators. It's like trying to fight a starship with a slingshot." But something nagged at her. The humans were working with a coordination she had never seen before. Every major power source on the planet was being connected into one network. The energy readings were growing larger every hour. What were they planning? "Keep monitoring them," she ordered. "But don't worry. In 30 hours, this will all be over." She was wrong. In 30 hours, the galaxy would learn that humans didn't fight like other species. They didn't just use the weapons they had. They turned everything around them into a weapon. They turned their own planet into a weapon. The countdown continued. 30 hours to save Earth or die trying. The final hour had arrived. Above Earth, the massive alien ships began to glow with deadly energy. Their weapons powered up slowly, building the force needed to destroy every city, every forest, every living thing on the planet. The aliens had done this many times before. It was always the same. Primitive species would try to fight back, fail, and then die. Commander Veltara stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the energy readings climb. In 15 minutes, the disintegration arrays would be ready. Earth's surface would be reduced to atoms, and another dangerous species would be eliminated. But something felt different this time. Commander, her communications officer, said, "We're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Ignore it," Veltara replied. "They always try to beg for mercy at the end." "But Commander, this is ... unusual. It's not from their leaders. It's not a message of surrender. It's..." The officer paused, looking confused. "It's a child singing. Valtora frowned. Put it through. The bridge filled with the sound of a small human child, maybe 6 years old, singing a simple song. The words were in the human language called English, but the translation system made them clear. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. When the blazing sun is gone, when he nothing shines upon, then you show your little light. Twinkle, twinkle, all the night. The song continued for nearly 3 minutes. A child's voice, clear and innocent, singing about stars and dreams and never giving up hope. When it ended, there was silence on the bridge. Why would they send us this? The communications officer asked. Commander Valtera didn't answer. She was thinking about something she had never considered before. The humans knew they were about to die. They knew their weapons couldn't save them. But instead of begging or threatening, they had sent a child's song about stars, deep beneath Seoul. In the hidden control room, Dr. Jiho Kim's hand hovered over the activation switch. The red button was small and simple, but it would control the most powerful weapon ever created. Around him, his team stood at their stations, ready to coordinate the planet's final gamble. Global network status? He asked. Dr. Mina Park checked her screens. All stations report ready. Nuclear reactors at full power. Particle accelerators synchronized. Quantum computers online. Every major power source on Earth is connected and waiting for your signal. Dr. Hannah Lee looked up from her calculations. The timing has to be perfect. We get one chance. If we miss, the magnetic field will collapse and we'll lose our protection from space radiation. And if we succeed, asked Dr. Sujin, then we show the galaxy that humans don't go quietly, Jiho replied. The countdown reached 0. Above them, the alien ships began their final attack sequence. Weapons that could destroy planets started to charge. In space stations around Earth, alien technicians prepared to fire. Now, Jiho whispered, and pressed the button. Every nuclear reactor on Earth suddenly pushed its power into the network. Every particle accelerator fired at the same moment. Every quantum computer calculated the same equation. The planet's magnetic field, which had protected Earth for billions of years, suddenly changed. Instead of a gentle shield, it became a focused weapon. The magnetic field contracted, pulling closer to Earth's surface. All the energy that normally spread out across space was compressed into a tight band around the planet. Then, in a single moment, it exploded outward like the biggest lightning bolt ever created. The pulse of energy raced away from Earth. At the speed of light, it was invisible to human eyes, but it carried the power of a star. Every satellite, every space station, every piece of metal in Earth's orbit was caught in the wave. The alien ships didn't even have time to react. Their advanced shields, designed to stop missiles and lasers, were useless against this kind of attack. The electromagnetic pulse hit them like a giant hammer made of pure energy. Commander Veltara felt her ship shudder as the wave struck. Warning lights flashed red across the bridge. Then the lights went out. The gravity stopped working. The air recycling systems failed. Her ship, which had traveled between stars for thousands of years, simply died. What happened? She gasped. Floating in the zero gravity, her science officer's voice was weak. Massive electromagnetic pulse. It's overloaded every system on the ship. The exotic matter hull is breaking down. We're losing structural integrity. Through the viewports, Veltara could see the other ships in the fleet. They were all dark, all dead. Some were breaking apart, their advanced materials dissolving back into space dust. Others were spinning out of control, their crews dead or dying. How is this possible? She whispered. We've conquered 1,000 worlds. Our technology is beyond their understanding. But as her ship began to break apart around her, Commander Veltara finally understood. The humans hadn't tried to build better weapons. They had turned their entire planet into a weapon. They had used Earth itself as a cannon, firing the planet's own energy at their enemies. In her final moments, as her ship dissolved into glowing particles, she realized what the child's song had been trying to tell them. Humans didn't just dream about stars. They fought with the fury of stars. They had turned their world into a star. That star had just roared. The electromagnetic pulse continued racing outward, carrying Earth's message to the galaxy. Humanity would not surrender. They would not go quietly. They would fight with everything they had, even if it meant turning their own planet into a weapon. The thunder had awakened, and it would never be silent again. 10 years had passed since the day Earth roared. Where once alien ships had hung like dark mountains in the sky, now only scattered debris floated in space. The Kethfer Collective was gone, their surviving ships fleeing to the far edges of the galaxy with stories that no one believed. The few aliens who had escaped told wild tales of a primitive planet that had turned itself into a weapon. They spoke of humans who refused to surrender, who chose to fight with the fury of stars rather than live as prisoners. Most species laughed at these stories. Could such a backward world defeat the mighty collective? But the stories were true, and now the galaxy was learning what it meant to face humanity unleashed. Dr. Jiho Kim stood on the observation deck of the starship New Dawn, watching distant suns drift past like diamonds scattered across black cloth. He was older now, with gray streaks in his hair and deep lines around his eyes. The years had changed him, but his eyes still held the same determination that had saved Earth. Beside him, his wife Dr. Mina Park held their 7-year-old daughter, Yunbai, who pressed her small face against the transparent wall that separated them from the endless void of space. Papa, Yunbai said in her small voice, "Tell me the story again, about the day Earth became thunder." Jiho smiled and knelt down to his daughter's level. "Which part do you want to hear?" "The part where you pressed the button and the bad aliens went away," she said, her eyes wide with wonder. "Well," Jiho began, "it wasn't just me, it was everyone. On Earth, working together, we turned our whole planet into the biggest weapon ever made, and when we fired it, the alien ships just ... disappeared." "Like magic?" Yunbai asked. "Like science," Mina corrected gently. "Very, very advanced science." Around them, the ship hummed with activity. The New Dawn was humanity's first interstellar colony ship, designed to carry 10,000 people to distant worlds. But it wasn't just humans aboard. Representatives from dozens of alien species worked alongside human crew members, all united by a simple idea that humans had brought to the galaxy, that freedom was worth fighting for. Dr. Hannah Lee, now captain of the ship, approached their small family. She had grown from a nervous graduate student into a confident leader, but she still remembered the fear in her voice when she had asked what would happen if they failed. "Director Kim," she said, "we're approaching the Zarian system. The refugees are ready to see their home world again?" Jiho nodded and stood up. "How many years has it been since they were taken from their planet?" 300 years, Captain Lee replied. "The collective relocated them when they were still a primitive species. They've been living on prison worlds ever since, told that their home was destroyed." The New Dawn had been traveling for 2 years now, following the trail of the collective's conquests. They had found dozens of worlds where alien species had been relocated by their former captors. Some had forgotten their homeworlds entirely, accepting their fate as unchangeable. Others had fought and lost, their spirits broken by centuries of servitude. But when humans arrived with their message of hope, everything changed. Dr. Young Soo, now the ship's head of alien relations, joined the group at the observation deck. He had spent years learning to communicate with the dozens of species they had rescued. Each one had a different language, different customs, different ways of thinking. But they all understood one thing: humans had given them something they thought was lost forever. "The Zirians are crying," he reported. "They never thought they would see their sun again. For 300 years, they believed their world was gone." Through the viewports, a blue-green planet slowly came into view. It looked much like Earth, with white clouds swirling over green continents and blue oceans. The Zirians had been taken from this world when they were still learning to use metal tools. Now, 3 centuries later, they were returning as partners in humanity's growing alliance. Director Captain Lee said, "We're receiving a transmission from Earth's command." Jiho activated the communication system. The face of Dr. Tae-min appeared on the screen. He had become the coordinator of humanity's expansion into space, managing the dozens of ships that were now exploring the galaxy. Jiho Dr. Tae-min said, "We have news. The Regellian system has agreed to join the alliance. It makes 47 species now. And we've located another collective prison world in the Vega system. They're holding nearly 1 million beings from 12 different species. How many ships can we spare for a rescue mission?" Jiho asked. 3 colony ships and 5 escort vessels. The Thunder's Echo is leading the mission. The Thunder's Echo was one of humanity's new exploration ships, named after the electromagnetic pulse that had saved Earth. It carried the same defensive technology that had destroyed the collective fleet. Its primary mission was peaceful: to find lost species and offer them a choice. That choice was simple: join the growing alliance of free worlds or remain as they were. But never again would they be alone in the darkness. Little Yunbai tugged on her father's sleeve. "Papa, are we the good guys now?" Jiho picked up his daughter and held her close. "We're trying to be, sweetheart. Trying to make sure that no one ever has to be afraid of the dark again." The new dawn entered orbit around the Zarian home. World and the rescued aliens prepared to set foot on soil their ancestors had been forced to leave centuries ago. But they weren't returning as the primitive species they had once been. They were returning as part of something greater: alliance of free worlds that had learned from humanity that dreams of light were worth fighting for. The galaxy had learned a new word: thunder. It was what happened when the impossible met, the unreasonable when dreams met determination. And when a species refused to go quietly into the night, the thunder that had started on Earth was spreading across the galaxy. And it would never be silent again.